ICE raids taking place in the Bronx.
Chicagoans are bracing for ICE agents.
An immigration raid in Philadelphia.
The Trump administration is cracking down on sanctuary cities.
We're hitting every sanctuary city right now.
The deportations we're seeing are part of restoring integrity to the immigration system.
These cities have challenged federal immigration enforcement for years, and Trump sees them as an obstacle to his mass deportation plans.
We are getting them out and getting them out fast.
Our jurisdictions are not harboring criminals.
I think we never quite know what to expect might happen. There has been some enforcement on the ground here.
Here's how sanctuary cities work and whether Trump has the authority to end them entirely.
Come on in.
Denver Mayor Mike Johnston became a target of the Trump administration for his opposition to its mass deportation agenda.
Would you be willing to go to jail for these things?
Yeah, I'm not afraid of that.
If Mayor of Denver willing to go to jail in defense of sanctuary city policy, the list goes on.
If there are things that the government are doing that are unconstitutional or un-American that I think violate my values and our city's values, I think people would protest and I would join them.
Just hours after taking office, Trump signed an executive order that threatened to withhold federal funding to any sanctuary jurisdictions that seek to interfere with the lawful exercise of federal law enforcement operations. There's no one-size-fits-all definition of a sanctuary city. Roughly a dozen states and hundreds of cities and counties across the U.S. are designated sanctuary jurisdictions, with policies that limit their cooperation with federal immigration officials, according to the Center for Immigration Studies, a think tank that advocates for stronger border enforcement.
Sanctuary cities represent a kind of nullification movement, an attempt to pick and choose what laws can be enforced.
What the Trump administration is trying to do is to commandeer our local law enforcement forces for their purposes.
That's San Francisco City Attorney David Chu, who is suing the Trump administration over its executive order. San Francisco successfully defended its sanctuary policies during the first Trump administration.
ICE agents can enforce laws within the boundaries of San Francisco. There is nothing in our sanctuary policies that prevent the lawful enforcement of federal immigration law.
Trump's border czar sees it another way.
Look, sanctuary cities are sanctuary for criminals.
What sanctuary jurisdictions do is not cooperate.
U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or ICE, primarily uses what's called a detainer to apprehend someone for deportation who has been arrested by local law enforcement. The agency asks police departments to maintain custody of them for up to 48 hours, and then alert them when authorities plan to release that person so ICE can pick them up. A detainer is a request, and it's common for sanctuary cities to not comply.
What they do is not communicate to ICE subsequent information like this guy's going to be released Tuesday at 2 o'clock.
We provide the fingerprints of all of our inmates over to the Trump administration. If they have a lawful reason to want to detain someone, they can simply provide us with a criminal warrant or court order.
Some cities like Denver meet ICE's requests halfway.
Sometimes ICE will call or write and say, would you please hold Mike for another 7 days because we're coming to get them next week. Under state law, we don't honor that kind of detainer request because we can't hold them beyond their sentence date. If they want to inquire about Mike, we can say we're releasing Mike this Friday at 2 o'clock.
The Department of Homeland Security reported in late February that ICE arrested more than 20,000 migrants living in the U.S. illegally in the first month of the Trump administration. That's more than double the average number of arrests made each month under President Joe Biden in fiscal year 2024.
ICE is raiding the neighbors.
The White House vowed to focus on immigrants with criminal backgrounds, although anyone in the country illegally during an arrest would be taken too. Trump also tossed out a long-standing directive that prevented federal agents from making arrests at churches and other sensitive areas, such as hospitals and schools.
The problem with the sensitive jurisdictions policy under Biden was that, in effect, it prevented ICE from doing anything anywhere.
You can't have a safe city if folks are afraid to go to the hospital. We don't want to see what's happened in other cities previously where kids stop coming to school because they're afraid their parents will get picked up out front of the school pickup line.
Even if Trump wanted to put an end to sanctuary jurisdictions, like he said during a January interview on Fox,
we're trying to get rid of them, we're trying to end them, and a lot of the people in those communities don't want them.
The federal government's ability to interfere with state and local level policies is limited.
Even Congress can't just pass a law and say, from now on, there will be no sanctuary cities. This is one of those areas where there's kind of a balance between federal and state authority.
The Trump administration is preparing to take sanctuary cities to court again.
New York has chosen to prioritize illegal aliens over American citizens. It stops today.
The Trump administration is way more organized this time than last time. They're more prepared for the pushback.
I mean, I don't know what the hell is going on in Denver, but we're going to go and we're going to fix it. If you don't want to fix it, if you don't want to protect his communities, President Trump and ICE will.
We are preparing for potential increased ICE activity here. We've made sure people know their rights, know how to respond.
What unfolds in Denver could be a sign of things to come for the rest of America.
Enforcement on people that are here, working jobs, in school, taking care of their families, posing no public safety risk to us. That's what we've been worried about, and we're pleased that to date we haven't seen really massive disruptions like that, but we're still worried.